from the giant hole in the middle of Sparta in 300, which was there for no reason other than to have a place to push stereotypical Middle Eastern extras, it's the IGN Digigods. Please welcome two men who would gladly sucker punch Zack Snyder, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
Wow, that was a mouthy, lengthy opening. Corey, who sent that one in?
That little bit of magic was brought to you by Alexander the Burly Man Burlika.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row for Alexander, but it's a good one. And that music, of course. Mark, what was that intro music?
That was from The Birds.
No, it isn't.
That was from Psycho.
No, it wasn't.
That was from North by Northwest.
No, it wasn't.
That was from Frenzy. Pull the curtain. The man who knew too much.
Vertigo. It was our vertiginous opening, which, of course, means something.
It means something awesome that you now must go and save your pennies and buy.
Pretty bitchin'. And we'll get to that momentarily. Meanwhile, in continuing this just twisted new tradition that we have, what the hell is this and why do I have to eat it?
Wait, hang on, stop.
What?
There is a name for it.
Okay.
Don't eat it yet, hang on. We were not going to do this, by the way, on the show, but Wade just picked it up. It's not my fault. Don't email me.
Okay, well, Mark is doing something. We got a lot of good stuff. We, of course, had our big Halloween show last week, and we have some late-coming stuff that if there's still time for anybody to listen to this show before Halloween, we're going to make mention of. We got some music, got television, got new movies, got older movies, got great British television. It is a sprawling week.
That is an alfajores.
An alpha what's
An alfajores is an Argentinian cookie, which I have to say, I made an alfajores, and then there are two shortbread cookies with some dulce de leche in the middle. Now, I made these... Wait, before you take a bite out of it.
Okay, yeah.
And then we can move on.
Yeah.
People hate when we do this now. I don't like this cookie.
Okay.
So I'm perfect. Not that it didn't come out well, but I don't think I like these types of cookies. But if you like it, I'll give you 10 of them if you like it. There's whatever. I mean, if they like them in Argentina.
Whatever.
Right, it's kind of like, yeah, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's two shortbread cookies, soft, with some dulce de leche, which, by the way, I made. Thank you very much.
Oh, did you really?
Yes, I did.
Oh, very nice.
In the middle. So, okay, so I can tell, scale of 1 to 10, you're looking like a 5 or a 6, right?
5.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Got it.
Yeah, that's not great.
Got it.
Not great.
I will not be making these alfajores again.
Yeah.
I'm sure in Argentina, it's probably like the national cookie.
Yeah, whatever.
But it's like kind of whatever.
Yeah, Evita and all that crap. Who needs you?
Exactly.
Okay. Mark, it is it's getting to be holiday season, and everybody's starting to blitz this stuff out. We're going to talk about this amazing Alfred Hitchcock masterpiece collection in just a moment on Blu-ray. But we do have some titles that are still. Excuse me, as I get this dulce de leche out from in between my teeth. We got some music stuff to talk about, and a few titles that are still Halloween-worthy while we still have a few days before. Of course, we did most of our Halloween coverage last week, but a few of these that trickled in since, worth talking about. One is a Korean film called Bedevilled. And I got to tell you, anything that has a picture of a blood-covered woman with storm clouds behind her holding some kind of a sickle in her hand, I'm all over it. And the Koreans make some pretty twisted stuff, by the way. This was directed by Fine Cut. And Fine Cut, I don't know anything about. I assume they're one of those directing collectives. I tried to look a little bit into this. This made the rounds of the festivals. But this takes place primarily on an island. And it is, let's just say it's a little bit like a Korean version of I Spit on Your Grave. Done better. And... but ultimately, thematically, pretty much the same kind of a thing, and the acting's better. So if you want to see one of those really twisted Korean films that goes there, that's one. Got another one here called 247 Degrees Fahrenheit. That's 247, the little degree symbol, and then F. None of it is spelled out. 247 Degrees Fahrenheit. And this also is kind of a throwback. This is basically one of those, a bunch of kids in a cabin movie. You know what happens there. They go to the cabin, they think they're going to have a good time, and then something goes wrong, and they're trapped inside, and it suddenly the sauna that they're in when they go inside, the heat is just going up and up and up and up. I guess you could say this kind of mixes elements from Saw with Friday the 13th. So that's 247 degrees Fahrenheit. Not, for a low-budget thing, pretty well done. Wrong Turn 5, Bloodlines. This is the unrated Blu-ray and DVD combo. And I got to tell you, Mark, the Wrong Turn series, I had no idea that it would take the turn that it did in Wrong Turn 5.
Every turn in the Wrong Turn series is a wrong turn.
But in this movie, did you know that Wrong Turn 5 is actually a musical comedy? Did you know that?
I did not
Singing,
know that.
dancing, romance. There's no horror in it.
In America, it's called Glee.
Anyway, this is just silly.
Where I'm from, we call it Maze.
This is just silly.
You remember that?
This is just silly. It's basically this is getting into The Hills Have Eyes and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all those anything that involves hillbilly cannibals. That's where this one goes. And, it's just like all the rest of them. Who needs it? But I guess they're big fans. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been 5 of these damn things. Then we have a 3D Blu-ray combo pack with 3D Blu-ray, and DVD of Bait 3D. Clean up on aisle 7. That's literally the subtitle here. Clean up on aisle 7. Just honestly so silly. Bait 3D is we're still doing shark and piranha movies all these decades after Jaws. It just kind of blows my mind. The angle here, if you wonder what the clean up on aisle 7 bit is about, this is truly as stupid a concept as I think I have ever seen in a movie, and yet somehow they kind of sort of sell it. And so I really do give them props for taking a premise that has no business working in any way whatsoever and making it work just so they can have an excuse for some 3D shock effects. Mark, I'm gonna read I could not possibly summarize this better than what they have summarized themselves. Tell me what you think of this. When a monstrous freak tsunami hits a sleepy beach community, a group of survivors from different walks of life find themselves trapped inside a submerged grocery store.
I only shop at submerged grocery stores. If you're an above water grocery store, I'm not interested.
As they try to escape, they soon discover there is a predator among them more deadly than the threat of drowning. Vicious great white sharks lurking in the water.
That's awesome.
My question is, why wouldn't the sharks then, if they're in the grocery store, why wouldn't they just go straight for the the prime rib?
I have no idea.
It's already cut. It's been trimmed. Little layer of fat, right? It's prime cut.
Because the sharks are attracted to blood.
Yeah, I guess.
That's why.
Yeah, there you go.
Fresh human blood.
Who comes up with this stuff?
Well, look, obviously they know it's stupid. If the tagline is clean up on aisle 7, they know it's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, it's
like Piranha.
It's
Piranha
just
3D.
silly. It's utterly silly. Okay, and then we got a thing here called Lovely Molly, which they tout as being from the makers of the Blair Witch Project and the Lord of the Rings. Boy, that's a stretch.
And the Lord of the Rings.
I guess a real stretch.
Some gaffer on Lord of the Rings.
Well, Eduardo Sanchez, who wrote and directed this, is of course one of the Blair Witch guys. The Lord of the Rings thing is that's a stretch. That's a producerial stretch. But this is kind of going in the same direction a little bit as the Blair Witch stuff. It's it's a haunted house movie of a sort. It's not the best haunted house movie I've ever seen. Certainly not the worst. Stylishly done, but yeah, you could do worse, I guess. Come on.
No, that's a blurb.
Rosemary's Baby. You could do worse.
I guess that's a good blurb.
And then the last one, which kind of did a little bit of business around the world, I guess. Chernobyl Diaries experienced the fallout. Chernobyl Diaries is here on a combo pack, Blu-ray and DVD, and Ultraviolet, which also includes the alternate ending, which makes no difference whatsoever. But what I do like, I like the way that they use the radioactive symbol and kind of make it look like a spooky face in the clouds. That's good artwork.
That's good artwork.
That's good salesmanship there. Chernobyl Diaries is basically, it's a little bit like the mutant hillbilly concept, but they kind of put a modern spin on it. They want it to be a little bit like some of these found footage movies, to have a little bit of the same feel all the way from Blair Witch all the way up through Wreck and
I wish those found footage
Paranormal Activity.
I wish those found footage movies would get lost.
I do too. But ultimately, it does have a little bit of a Paranormal Activity feel to it, and the idea that the Chernobyl accident created something horrible. Look, I was in Europe when that thing happened, and they were finding irradiated fruit within, 150 miles of where I was living. So it's kind of creepy, You start to think maybe the zombies are next. First, it's like a tangerine that'll make you break out in a rash. Next thing you know, a zombie's chewing on your arm. It's just a small walk.
Awesome. Totally awesome.
It's a small walk.
All right, so what am I doing? Am I talking about this music stuff?
Yeah, do the music. Do the music. Let's knock the music out.
Wade.
And I'll chew on this bad cookie while you're talking about music.
It is bad, right? Is it bad? Is it bad, or just like it was just like nothing, right?
Yeah,
it kind of tastes like nothing.
It's sort of like, I don't know. It's
Isn't
like
Argentinian food supposed to be like spicy and fun and
I don't know,
rock
man.
and roll?
I don't know. They got gauchos down there. I don't even know what a gaucho is.
Neither do I. All right, on the music front, we actually have a couple good Blu-rays this week. In 1986, one of my favorite albums, and actually it's since become a classic, is Peter Gabriel's So. And this was the album that spawned hits like Sledgehammer, which was a big one. Red Rain, very dramatic. And love that album, Peter Gabriel. Here we have, as part of the Classic Albums series, we have So, the definitive authorized story of the album. And they talked to a lot of people involved, pretty much Gabriel himself and the co-producer, Daniel Lanois, the engineer, some of the musicians.
What year did you say that was?
86.
That's the year of Chernobyl.
It's all coming together.
Yep.
This is a great album, and this is it's a terrific documentary if you love that album as I do. If you don't love the album, you will not care about this documentary. But what everyone loves about So is less the music, which of course is great and one of the best rock albums of the era, but the video for Sledgehammer. Now at the time, back when MTV used to show videos, Sledgehammer was an amazing video, one of the best of that year, directed by the Aardman guys. Ladies and gentlemen, bet you didn't know that.
Very nice.
So that's fun times. All right, what else do we have? We also have Neil Young Journeys. Now, I'm a big fan of this film, Neil Young Journeys. Jonathan Demme has done a couple of these Neil Young films. Demme and Young have become kind of, if not friends, probably friends, but definitely at least collaborators. And this one is...
Bruce Springsteen jealous?
Springsteen hasn't really done any big,
But isn't he supposed to be Neil Young's pal, or is that Jimmy Fallon?
Huh?
Is Neil Young being friend? Never mind.
What? Who are you?
Carry on.
Jesus Christ. Why does Wade even show up? Okay. Anyway, so this one is sort of it's the most stripped down of the lot of Jonathan Demme Neil Young collaborations. In this one, Neil Young literally gets into his Crown Victoria and drives from his hometown in Ontario, Canada, to Toronto's Massey Hall and plays a concert. And it's great. I actually saw this thing projected, and when it was projected, which you can't necessarily tell from here, when it was projected in this really funky new audio format that just made the guitars just wail in your ear. It was really awesome. Loved it. Loved seeing it projected. Here on the DVD, you don't really get that kind of a feeling, but it's still a very good documentary. Again, if you love Neil Young, you will love Neil Young Journeys. Really good stuff. The Doors, live at the Bowl, 1968. Wade, a few days ago, Bob Dylan played at the Bowl.
Did he really?
Yeah, Bob Dylan was just at the Bowl.
Bob Dylan was at the Bowl?
You didn't realize that?
No kidding.
He's only played the Bowl like 3 times. He played once like in 1960-something, and he played it once a couple years ago, and he was literally at the Bowl, again, the Hollywood Bowl, a few days ago. Very exciting.
Wow.
Anyway, 1968, the Doors played the Bowl, and it's great. It's great stuff. This is not high-definition stuff, obviously. The audio is generally very good, but not like super pure, incredible, lossless stuff. But you get all the big songs here. You get, you get them all. Backdoor Man and...
Backdoor Man.
What's wrong with you? Light My Fire.
He's a new superhero, isn't he? Backdoor Man? That's the new franchise from Warner Brothers.
Yes,
Christopher Nolan's going to go do Backdoor Man.
It's a new porn superhero called Backdoor Man. Anyway, it's been remastered, so it does look great. And it does sound great, but again, there are certain limitations to the original source material. But if you do love The Doors, Live at the Bowl 68 is good eating. Wade, now, I'm not sure if you're a fan of Pat Metheny. Pat Metheny he's still around. He is this American, he's a jazz guitarist.
Yes.
And he's very experimental. He does a lot of fusion stuff, does a lot of world stuff. He's had a very, iconoclastic he's a musical polymath.
Yes.
And we have,
And I was going to say, Metheny's like that minty stuff they put in cigarettes, right?
That is true. Don't know what you just said.
Okay.
Anyway, Pat Metheny, the Orchestrion project sounds exactly like something that Pat Metheny would come out with. The Orchestrion project, which is it's a bunch of songs that were written many times improvised by Metheny and his band. Although Metheny pretty much plays every damn instrument in the world. Anyway, so it's acoustic stuff, it's electric stuff, it's solo stuff, it's full collaboration stuff. It's really great. I mean, Metheny is definitely, he's an acquired taste, but the guy's won like 19 Grammys, so it's good stuff. If you're into jazz, if you're into jazz fusion, crossover jazz, crazy jazz, Pat Metheny is your man, and a good place to start might be the Orchestrion project.
Nice.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
Can I blow my nose?
Go ahead, blow your nose. I'm going to knock out a couple of TV things, and then we're going to get into our movies. Some old American TV. Oh, toot, toot, toot. That's how professional we are here. Perry Mason. This is Season 7, Volume 2. We talked about Season 7, Volume 1 not too long ago. This is the rest of that season. Not much else we can say here. Raymond Burr, pretty great. The original great TV lawyer. He's very officious. He knows how to work a courtroom. And pretty much every episode of Perry Mason is roughly just like every other episode. But you do get some good guest spots here, and look, it's classic TV from the early 1960s. This is what TV used to be. More interesting, although not necessarily more enthralling, is a double set here of Volume 1 and Volume 2 from Season 5, The Streets of San Francisco.
Awesome.
And yes, thank you. Finally, Paramount is packaging their Volume 1s and Volume 2s together because I think they realize that this is stupid. But although
you will notice one cast member who's not there.
You know, I always forget this, and I have a story to go along with this. We always forget that the Streets of San Francisco, that cookie is screwing up my diction. You did that on purpose.
Yes, I did.
That's screwing up my diction. The Streets of San Francisco in Season 5 lost Michael Douglas. Michael Douglas decided, I'm too big for this. You, Carl Malden, you've won your Oscar. I got to go get mine. So he drifted away to become a big movie star. And they replaced him with a guy who would go on to become one of the greatest Viper pilots in the history of Battlestar Galactica. That would be none other than Richard Hatch. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Apollo from Battlestar Galactica, Richard Hatch. Richard Hatch also played Jan or Dean, I forget which one. He
played the Orr.
Whichever one had the accident of Jan and Dean in the TV movie on the Jan and Dean story.
No, I have not seen the Jan and Dean TV.
It's really
story.
Good. It's really good with Bruce. Bruce, what's his
Boxleitner?
name? No, the other Bruce.
Willis?
The one from Longtime Companion. Bruce
Davidson?
Yeah, Bruce Davidson played the other one. He and Richard Hatch played Jan and Dean. It was great. Really, I'm serious.
Sounds
it's
great,
really
good. You really make it out to be fantastic. I can't wait to Netflix that one.
Anyway, so Richard Hatch replaced him, and it's okay. It's serviceable, but it's not. It somehow it's not quite the same. You know, Michael Douglas just sort of nailed this, and Richard Hatch sort of walked on like some kind of a male model. I actually once sat in Richard Hatch's apartment. Did you know that? Not so many years ago.
Please tell us that story. Wade.
Well, okay, fine. No, they had a Galacticon here in L.A. at the Universal Sheraton. There was a convention of Battlestar Galactica stuff. It was the first big Galactica convention, Galacticon. They were trying to do a Star Trek thing with it. And I actually went and took some friends of mine who were gigantic Battlestar Galactica lunatics, and we saw a lot of, short, fat Cylons walking around. Very scary. And in preparation for that, I wrote a piece on Richard Hatch, who was very involved there because he'd been trying to get the show relaunched, and he had actually put a lot of his own money into doing this trailer for what a feature film could look like if they did it on Battlestar Galactica. It's a very famous thing. It's not even on YouTube. You only see it if you ever go to conventions. And so I actually sat down in Richard Hatch's apartment in Studio City and had a lovely sit-down with him. And he was writing a lot of these novels at the time, a lot of science fiction novels, kind of doing the William Shatner thing. Great guy, ageless.
Was there in Richard Hatch's home, was there a secret hatch?
No, there wasn't, but there was a crap load of Battlestar Galactica memorabilia, I'll tell you that.
He's got to get on. He's got to move on.
Yeah.
It's too late. Now, I could see, like, you know how Nichelle Nichols...
Yeah.
And Sulu and Chekhov, you know how they will appear, or Scotty
Yes.
before he died?
Yes.
They will appear in Star Trek fan films. They have appeared in Star Trek fan films.
Yep.
I understand how they can't get it together because, they were like the fourth, fifth, sixth bananas on the show.
Yeah.
But Richard Hatch was the star
Yes.
of a hit.
Well, a couple of hit shows. I mean, look, let's face it. I mean, yes, he replaced Michael Douglas, but he was still the star of, the last season of San Francisco.
So why is he not? Why did he never get over Battlestar Galactica? Why could he never get beyond that in his career?
I don't know. Did anybody else on that show? Dirk Benedict went on to do the A-Team and then kind of evaporated.
How about the dog? Didn't Battlestar Galactica have a dog?
Yeah, the Daggett, that would have been a midget inside the Daggett.
Really?
That's not really a dog.
Oh. Doggy.
Yeah. Anyway, and then lastly on the TV front, the classic TV front, we have Volume 2 of the Ernie Kovacs collection.
Oh, yeah. This
So
is good
good.
stuff.
From Shout Factory, and this includes a bonus disc as well. That is this is sensational. Ernie Kovacs is just one of the great legends in the history of the televised form. He is one of the most pivotal comic geniuses and innovators in history. And I've said it before, you cannot watch late night comedy today, especially things like Conan O'Brien, and certainly Jimmy Fallon does it more than anybody else. You cannot watch it without sort of seeing the incredible influence of Ernie Kovacs and this kind of weird, obscure, skewed way that he sort of helped evolve television comedy.
Well, the thing is that oops, sorry. The thing is
okay.
that these guys like O'Brien and Fallon, they revered Ernie Kovacs.
I know.
It's not just like a coincidence. They revered Ernie Kovacs.
Here's what you get. 8 episodes from the morning show that Ernie Kovacs did back in the day. 18 bonus sketches with all kinds of crazy characters. 3 episodes of the game show Take a Good Look. And a TV pilot for a show called Medicine Man called A Pony for Chris that just happens to have Ernie Kovacs and Buster Keaton in it, if you can believe that. I mean, that's like it's just such a strange thing because I'd never seen this, never heard of it. Is it that good? Not really, but seeing those two guys in it is something surreal. You feel like you just walked through the looking glass into an alternate universe. And then The Lively Artists, which has the only solo interview ever filmed with Ernie Kovacs. And then there's a thing from 2011 at the American Cinematheque, and this thing, Ernie Kovacs Take a Good Look, which is the bonus disc. Very, very interesting. This is kind of like the Unquiz show, and it's just so interesting because nothing on television has ever been like it before or since. It's not at all like a regular game show. And even in this era when we've had these bizarre game shows like, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and all the, we recently had the era of the Uber game show, right? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and what's the one with the lady with the
Weakest Link?
Weakest Link, all that kind of stuff. Like we had that moment when there were these Uber primetime game shows.
20 years ago.
I know. This is not even that. It's fascinating. So anyway, you definitely want to get this. Volume 2 of Ernie Kovacs. It's just
great.
absolutely terrific.
And the thing with him is that he does the thing that they don't do anymore on TV, which is he was very experimental. He would ad-lib a lot.
So experimental.
Very experimental. And which means that some of the stuff landed with a thud. Most of it was great because he was such a genius. But it's the type of comedy that they don't really practice on TV much anymore.
Very true.
You really have to hit the stand-up circuit.
You do.
To get that kind of comedy. So Ernie Kovacs, he is revered by people you love, which means that you should definitely check it out.
All right, here it is, Mark. We're going to talk. We're going to talk about the man.
Oh my God!
The man, the master of suspense.
It's so good. You must buy it now.
The master of suspense. This is 2 weeks in a row. We've got a mega Universal box set. Last week we talked about the Universal Monsters collection, just in time for Halloween. This week we are talking about Alfred Hitchcock, the Masterpiece Collection. This is from Universal, but however, this is not just Universal stuff. This includes all kinds of stuff that has been released by other companies as well. Again, we talked a few weeks ago that Warner recently came out with Dial M for Murder in a 3D version, as well as Strangers on a Train. Those are not included here, but those are out on Blu-ray now as well. But here's the first thing I'm going to say. I really wish Universal would stop doing this. This is the exact same kind of packaging that they did for the Monsters collection and for a few other things.
For the Kubrick collection?
The Kubrick, yeah, with the pages, pages, the whole page thing, where they just kind of sit in these little sleeves. And I don't like it. You have to grab the disc with your fingers. You get the finger grease on it. You risk scarring it with the sleeve. Yeah, it looks like nice packaging. You're able to cram a lot of discs into a small box, but I just don't like it. I want things on spindles. I'm sorry. I want things on spindles.
And I can't imagine that packaging is cheap to produce. So it's not even like they're doing it to save money, I would imagine.
No, this is all custom. This is crazy. But anyway, look, you got to own it because these are some of the greatest, not just the greatest Hitchcock films ever made. These are some of the greatest movies ever made. This is an unbelievable collection. 15 movies. I'll say again, 15 movies. Every single one of those that was originally released in the various box set editions, the special editions from Universal, which are, of course, we should point out, all of the films that were part of Hitchcock's own personal library. Vertigo and Psycho and and Marnie and Torn Curtain and all of these things, which were restored. They were kept pristine, then they were kind of semi-restored back in the 80s and released as kind of a roadshow tour. There was a roadshow tour of classic Hitchcock films at the time. All of those movies were since licensed by Universal, who kept them pristine and then put out on DVD. All of those films are here now as well, along with a bunch of others. So here are the 15 films that you get. Psycho, The Birds, Vertigo, Rear Window, North by Northwest, which of course was originally a Warner release, The Man Who Knew Too Much, Marnie, Saboteur, Shadow of a Doubt, Rope, The Trouble with Harry, Torn Curtain, Topaz, Frenzy, and of course that great film with which Hitchcock decided to finally go out with a whimper, the bizarrely, ridiculously, hysterically horrible Family Plot.
But it did have Bruce Dern.
Yeah. It's a bad movie.
You know, if you look at first of all, it's a great.
It's the only bad movie here, frankly.
That's true. It's a great must-buy set. But there are, Hitchcock films can be broken up sort of roughly and in a sense inaccurately in sort of his British stuff, and then when he came and became a Hollywood director.
And the Hollywood stuff starts with Rebecca, which is not really a Hitchcock film. It's more of it's a classic Hollywood thing.
It's not a hired hand film, but it has less of the Hitchcock thing as other. It's like The Birds or Psycho.
Yeah, I mean, he was working with
Steve.
No, Gone with the Wind producer Selznick at the time. And he and Selznick had a very rocky relationship because they did Rebecca, which is more of a Selznick film, and then they went on to do stuff like Notorious, which was more of a Hitchcock film. And
now Rebecca's a great look. It won the Oscar for Best Picture, so it's a great film.
It's a great film.
But I'm saying that these films are all the post.
I hear you.
His post-British years.
Yes,
and there are some films.
But his golden period is represented here. His golden period.
Okay, although I am saying that the box set is a must-buy, guaranteed must-buy.
Yeah.
Here's what's missing. Let's see what's missing. What's missing? Lifeboat.
Yes.
Missing.
Which is out, by the way.
That's true. Spellbound. Okay, whatever. Spellbound.
Which is another one of the Selznick films.
Right.
Notorious and Spellbound are the two Selznick films. Those are also both out on Blu-ray. Those have been out for a while.
Strangers on a Train.
Which came out a few weeks ago, Warner Brothers.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Dial M. That was never my favorite.
Also out from a few weeks ago. So far, all of these other films that you've mentioned are already out on Blu-ray.
Yes. To Catch a Thief?
Not out.
Now, what's that about?
I don't know. It's a Cary Grant thing.
So, a lot of this stuff, like you're talking like Family Plot 76, Frenzy 72, Topaz 69, Torn Curtain 69, Marnie 64, Bird 63, Psycho 60. A lot of the ones on this set are 58 and later. Yes.
I take it back. To Catch a Thief is out on Blu-ray. Paramount earlier this year, yeah.
So if you were to get this 15...
Yeah. I'd forgotten. We actually talked about that, and it just blew right past me, yeah.
Now, when it comes to his British stuff, that's... Now you get into Sabotage, Secret Agent, 39 Steps, the original Man Who Knew Too Much, because he made that film twice. Mm-hmm. So this is not the British stuff. This is the American studio stuff.
We get the Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and I'm accused. Is it what's the one? The Montgomery Clift one, where he's the priest.
No, it's called I Confess.
I Confess, that's the one, yeah.
So anyway, with this box set and maybe a couple of little ones to buy on the side, like To Catch a Thief or Strangers on a Train, you will pretty much get the definitive Hitchcock that you'll ever need in your life.
Yeah, but I mean, his golden period.
And by the way, but here's the thing, and we double check this: the extras.
Yes, all the extras intact.
Yes. I looked at my Psycho Blu-ray, which is now useless, and the extras that are on the Psycho Blu-ray on the box set, they are identical. I mean, there really is no excuse not to port those over.
No.
Anyway, so Alfred Hitchcock box set, must buy it now.
It's brilliant. You gotta get it, the whole thing. Gotta get you'll hours and hours and hours of joy and entertainment. I had a Hitchcock class in college, Okay, never mind. All right, carry on. So let's. We have some more classic films that we're going to be getting to.
Do you have any letters today? We never do letters anymore.
Well, yeah, we do. We're going to get to some. We could do. We have
a
Vox
called
box.
Your bluff on that, didn't I? We do.
We have a Vox box that we've been holding on to for a
song?
couple of weeks. Well, not yet. Do you want to do it now?
No, I don't know. What are we talking about?
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we end the show with the Vox box, and then you want to do some letters right now, and then carry on the new movies?
So letters, new movies, and then Vox box. Is that the rundown?
That's, I guess, the rundown. We might try to squeeze some British TV in there if I can distract you long enough.
Fine.
All right. Listener mail.
Why do you print those out?
so that I can make it sound like I actually have physical mail.
You realize that every show is done with the help of your laptop.
Yes, I know.
Where these letters should be.
I know they are, but
And
there's
yet
something
you print them
about
out.
paper. Yeah, it just feels more like like Letterman holding the listener mail.
This is not a desk bit from Letterman.
I know, whatever. All right, Anthony Mateus, I guess is how you pronounce his name, said, love the show, love the show. I just want to let you know on a recent show you began talking about Luis Guzman in How to Make It in America. Mark offhandedly commented that he lives on a farm in North Carolina. I am from a very small northeastern Vermont town. About 35 miles from the Canadian border. A few years ago, I happened upon Mr. Guzman at the local ski resort picking up his kids. Needless to say, I couldn't believe my eyes. My brother, who is a physical therapist, told me he's been living, indeed, on a farm in the kingdom. He has about 8 children, not 4, most of them adopted from all walks of life, and I thought I couldn't love this man anymore. I've bumped into him from time to time again. The funniest, most trippy thing was hearing him talk to his kids when he was picking them up from skiing. Here's a man who notoriously plays seedy characters, often villains, yelling to his daughter, "Okay, honey, get your jacket on. It's chilly out."
He's the best.
Luis Guzman
You know
is
what?
the best.
Luis Guzman is one of those guys, those character guys like Sam Rockwell, where just everything he does is just priceless.
Yeah, I heard a story about Luis Guzman the other day, but I'm not at liberty to
Ooh,
share it.
is this a story that makes him look good or makes him look bad?
No, it makes him look good. But it doesn't. It makes someone else not look so good. It makes him look good, but I'm not at liberty to actually share it. That's the thing about NDAs, isn't it? And then we had a letter from Eric Altieri, a longtime listener, said, since the advent of DVD, releasing multiple versions of films has become pretty commonplace, not just with director's cuts available, but things like unrated and extended, which can be found on almost any studio release. Oftentimes, the theatrical version never sees the light of the day. I started thinking about how this affects how history will remember movies. I remember Wade going off on a rant about how the recent Dances with Wolves release did not contain the original theatrical cut, the Academy Award-winning version, to paraphrase. Some films are lucky to have directors get it, that get it. Peter Jackson has gone on record as saying the theatrical versions of the films, the Lord of the Rings films, are the ones he prefers, and the extended DVDs are just fan stuff. And then you have something like Blade Runner, where Ridley Scott has been more than clear about his disdain for the theatrical release, preferring the director's cut up until a few years ago at least, with the international cut, and then the final cut available. I believe the same can be said about Dawn of the Dead and the 3 versions of that film. Finally, we have studios like Disney and filmmakers like George Lucas that can't stop tinkering with their films, releasing version after version. What's your take on this? How do you decide which version of a film to consider the actual or best version of a film? And I think that is a great question, and you had a great answer for him, too.
I did?
Yes, you did.
What did I say?
You said the waters are muddy on this. It's difficult to come up with a definitive answer. Is the theatrical cut of The Magnificent Ambersons really the definitive cut? Of course not. Does a filmmaker proclaim his director's cut of Blu-ray the official one because he gets a slice of the Blu-ray revenue and wants to stoke renewed interest in the film? Of course. And then you said that the original theatrical release for you is always the sort of the fundamental work that we evaluate. And I you know,
it's a beautiful letter. Who wrote those wonderful thoughts?
You did.
No, I did. Really, it was me.
Yes.
Oh, I knew that.
Yes, you did. No, I think I really do think that the theatrical cut, the theatrical release, is the one that we always have to pay attention to. Now, there are, of course, films where you can't say that there is a theatrical cut because there have been many cuts. Lost Horizon, the Frank Capra film, comes to mind, where that thing was it started off being like 150 minutes, and then it wound up being like 80 minutes by the time it was finally near the end of its run. It was cut. Lawrence of Arabia is another one. Kubrick cut a number of his films based on the first showing. Then we've got like The Lost World, the Terrence Malick film, which I saw. I don't know. Did you see that at the press screening?
No, I didn't.
Not The Lost World, The New World. The New World.
No, I didn't.
He cut like 10 minutes from it between the time that they screened it for press and the time they released it for audiences. It was bizarre. It was weird. But then he went and turned around and released it as a director's cut anyway.
Yeah, so it gets to there has to be some.
Yeah.
Has to be some. What is the work that we judge?
The work that we judge is the one that is deemed theatrical.
But then
whatever qualifies for Academy Award consideration, that's the one that has to be viewed as sort of the official release version. If a director wants to say, "Well, I didn't like it. I fought with the producers. This is the one I prefer," fine. But I think we have to view that as the one that history considers the original release of the film. Now, Blade Runner is a weird case But those instances are, and Brazil is another case. There are, and certainly things like the Double Life of Veronique, which had a different European release and a different American release because Harvey Weinstein got involved, and Kieslowski was all over it. He said, "Why don't we have a different release for every country?" He sort of thought that would be a weird little tweak to do. But I think you have to take it case by case. But certainly the theatrical version has to be preserved always.
Just tell George Lucas that with Star Wars.
Yeah, he's an idiot. Don't like him.
Aww.
Don't like it at all. And
any more letters?
A couple more. And then one from Alex Vasquez says, Wade, just started listening to your show during my workout yesterday, and another good one. Just want to make a correction you may want to bring up. Mark mentioned that Titanic in 1997 came out before on Blu-ray. That is incorrect. The release back on September 10th was the first time it was released on Blu-ray. Good on you. Yeah. I think both of us felt like it had been released on Blu-ray before, but I guess it hadn't.
That is bizarre.
Yeah, I could have sworn it was, but this is how. Look, to Catch a Thief, I thought for sure that was not on Blu-ray, and now I realize about 7 months ago we talked about it. So these things happen. Our minds are not sponges. And then longtime listener Nicholas Gordon says, just wanted to get your thoughts on the ending of the bridge on the River Kwai. It seems to be a never-ending debate as to whether or not Colonel Nicholson actually meant to fall on the detonator, or is it just a coincidence? Thoughts?
Ooh. Well, I don't know, man. I think he just fell on it.
You think he just fell on it? He wasn't being noble? He wasn't redeeming himself?
Well, that might have been the effect, but his actual motivation in doing it might be he might not have thought to himself, "I'm going to fall on this plunger," in a last act of nobility. Do you think that's what it was?
I think it is intentionally ambiguous. I think the point is not whether or not he intended to do it. I think the point is to make the audience wonder whether or not he intended to do it. I think it's the right ending, but does it redeem him? We don't know. And I think it's one of those wonderful sort of question mark endings that leaves people talking.
It only redeems him if you think he did it on purpose.
I think it's very telling that before he falls on it, he tries to stand at attention. He sort of, there's a moment where just before he stumbles, he's trying to be still a good soldier. And you realize he's a good soldier to the day that he dies. But is he a good soldier in what sense? He does realize that he's made an error. He says, what have I done? But it's a great ending. It's one of the all-time great endings of any movie ever.
That is true. And we still can't quite come to a conclusion as to what it means.
We can't.
And yet it is still a great ending.
But, Mark, can we come to a conclusion as to what seeking a friend for the end of the world means?
It means that Steve Carell can't quite find his post office bearings.
Yeah.
Ooh, I hit the mic.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Thank you.
I won't hold it against you.
Yes, you will.
Because it's a magic mic.
We're going to talk about that in a second, too.
Oh.
Anyway, Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. It's with Steve Carell and Keira Knightley. Set, whatever, in the not too distant future, I guess. Humanity is on its last days, and what happens? What happens? You know what? You got a few more days to find love before the world comes to an end. What's going to happen? And do I like this film? You know what? It was very sweet, and I was very sincere. And it's pretty promising for the director, who I'd never heard of. I think this might be her first film. And I didn't really care for them much as a couple. I think is probably my problem with it. They didn't really match up to me as a couple. I don't know what you think about that, Wade. I'm really lukewarm on this film. Didn't do much for me.
Look, it wants to have it both ways. Is the problem? There are so many movies that try to find poignancy in some kind of a near-apocalyptic scenario. The world's going to end and all this kind of stuff, and it just doesn't. It doesn't really work.
What I wouldn't do is I would not go into this thinking it's going to be a full-blown Steve Carell comedy.
Don McKellar, the amazing Canadian talent, who really has not directed anything substantially great in a while, but he was a co-writer of the Red Violin, and he wrote and directed the film in '98. He's a great actor, by the way, too. He's also in the Red Violin. Don McKellar wrote and directed a film in '98 called Last Night, which is a sensational film. And he stars in it along with Sandra Oh, the wonderful Sandra Oh of Grey's Anatomy and Sideways, Oscar nominee for Sideways. And Last Night is a wonderful, poignant movie about two people who just happen to bump into each other on the night that the Earth is going to be destroyed. And you don't know why it's going to be destroyed. You just know that it is. And everybody is kind of doing whatever it is that you decide to do when you figure everything is just going to come to a cataclysmic end. I think this film tries to do that same thing, but it wants to be...
In a rom-com way.
In a rom-com way, and that's the problem. I don't think you can do that.
Yes. I mean, it's
trying to have it two ways.
Well, you know what it is? I mean, can you be saccharine and whimsical in a post-apocalyptic setting?
I'm not sure you can.
And I don't know that you can.
I don't think you can.
But you know what? As a rental, I don't think you will waste your time. You'll be like, meh, that's pretty good. And, of course, Patton Oswalt's in it, and that's always good.
There you go.
We love Patton Oswalt.
And then we've got Magic Mike. And Magic Mike is out here on a Blu-ray DVD Ultraviolet combo pack. I got to say, Ultraviolet, everything has the Ultraviolet now, and I know a lot of people are signing up for it, and I know they're all kind of touting, oh my gosh, 850 million people have signed up on Ultraviolet. But the question ultimately is going to be how many people will use it. Really, that's the question. How many people are out there every day in a hotel somewhere or with their iPad or something saying, oh, crap, I really want to watch that movie that I just registered for on Ultraviolet the other day. I think I'm going to log on to the Universal site and I'm going to download. It's the whole thing is so unwieldy and so user unfriendly right now and so poorly thought out. I think people might be signing up for it without actually having any intention of using it. Gesundheit. We're professional here. That's why we have sneeze buttons.
We do?
No, we
we do. I didn't press mine.
It's okay.
So, Magic Mike was supposed to, Magic Mike was supposed to be kind of a throwaway film. I mean, it really was not supposed to be.
Well, it wound up being kind of a little mini hit. Soderbergh wanted this to, I guess, be one of his commercial turnaround films, where he wasn't able to get that Cleopatra musical off the ground, which doesn't make sense to me at all. That was just the strangest obsession ever. And, Beyonce playing Cleopatra in a musical? What? Sorry? And no one wanted to give him, the $120 million that he said it was going to cost because he just kind of he made Che, that 2-part, 4-hour thing, and that tanked. So he goes and he makes a movie about male strippers. And you know what? It's pretty good. It's actually really entertaining, and it's not a movie that we haven't seen before. Matthew McConaughey plays a minor role in it. Frankly, he's the club, the guy who runs the club. It's Channing Tatum's movie, and Channing Tatum used to be actually a male stripper. It's a beefcake movie. Women will love it, but ultimately, it's kind of it's a little bit of, it's like what Showgirls should have been, in a way.
Well, this isn't campy in that winking, self-knowing.
It's not, but it is about somebody who wants to make a better life for themselves, and we've seen this a million times. It's usually it's a waitress or it's a boxer or whatever. It's somebody who wants to sort of break away from the rut and make a proper life for themselves and find happiness. It's not a new scenario. This movie's been told literally hundreds of times before, but somehow here it feels fresh enough, and Soderbergh has a good cast on his hands. Darn it, Channing Tatum really is turning into a good actor. I never thought I'd say that, but he is.
Well, because he's starting to work with good directors. That's the thing. It's like these guys, they just, they want to be...
Yeah.
They want to be Taylor Lautner
when
you're that age, and you do some piece of crap film because they're top billed, and now they're an action star, and it winds up being
very
horrible.
True.
And where's Taylor Lautner now?
I don't know.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
And then you get Channing Tatum, who's starting to make some good choices, work with good directors, who are starting to notice that he's talented, and he'll get more work out of it.
Yeah.
I just think that whoever is guiding some of these young actors' careers, they're going for the easy buck.
I agree.
While that might benefit the agent in the short term, it will not benefit the talent in the long term.
I want to talk for a second about Take This Waltz.
Take This Waltz and Shove It.
Yes, Take This Waltz, which is Sarah Polley's new film. Sarah Polley, wonderful actress, wonderful Canadian actress, who, of course, kind of exploded on the scene as an actress in The Sweet Hereafter, the Adam McGoyan film, and has gone on to actually be a very, very sharp writer-director in her own right. And I think her work has been very, very acute, but a little bit uneven up until this point. But... I have a real... I struggle with this film. This stars Michelle Williams, Seth Rogen, Luke Kirby, and Sarah Silverman. The idea here is kind of a more less chaste, more modern, more artsy, and certainly a very Canadian version of Brief Encounter. If you've ever seen the David Lean film Brief Encounter, it's about two people who essentially have an unconsummated love affair in a very discreet British way just after a happenstance meeting. In this case, Michelle Williams is the woman who has the affair with Luke Kirby. And it's very much a real affair, and Seth Rogen is her husband, who kind of takes the brunt of it. But the dynamics are the same. For some reason, though, the film just feels a little bit too artsy, a little bit too precious and self-obsessed. And I know what Sarah Polley was going for, but it's one of those cases where I think sometimes having an actor directing a movie is not a good thing, because she lets the actors be just a touch too indulgent. And I have to say, there are pros and cons to this. I am a little bit disturbed. No, I'll rephrase that. I am deeply disturbed that I have seen as much of Sarah Silverman's naked body as I now have thanks to this movie. Not that Sarah Silverman is unattractive, but you know what? I don't know. I just didn't like. Did I ever really want to see Carol Burnett naked?
I did.
Did you?
Oh yeah, Betty White, Carol Burnett.
If you're a funny lady, I don't know that I really want to see you naked. Even if you're attractive, I just don't know that really is a must, is on my checklist. That's not on the bucket list. So Sarah Silverman pretty much lets it all hang out in this movie. If that's a selling point for you, by all means, go and check out Take This Waltz on Blu-ray. Beautifully shot, really beautifully shot. If you're going to watch it, you got to watch it on the Blu-ray.
Wade, Tyler Perry. We have talked about Tyler Perry before, and that we respect his business acumen, but his movies are terrible. And Medea's Witness Protection is the latest. At least I think it is. At least I hope it is. The latest of the Madea films.
We've lost track.
No,
he's out in Alex Cross right now, by the way.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
where he's trying to turn it around and be a dramatic.
Yeah.
You've got to be kidding. I mean,
I know.
You can't spend 15 years dressed in drag and then expect the audience to accept you
as an action hero.
Are you kidding me? Oh my God! Anyway, the only funny scene in this film is the scene in the airport where he's frisked by the security guard, the transportation, the TSA agent. And the reason I say that is because A, it's funny, and B, it was played by a friend of mine, Shane Anderson, who's really, really super funny, and it's the only funny scene in the film. In fact, it's so funny that they made it one of the thumbnails on the box, the scene where he's being interrogated by the TSA guy.
That's pretty
That's
great.
my buddy Shane, and Shane is
nice.
hilarious, and it's the funniest scene in the film. Otherwise, the film is totally, completely, unbelievably forgettable. Medea's Witness Protection. It didn't do all that well, at least compared to some of his other films, and I know that Madea is a huge hit with a certain audience, and God love him. You know, nothing wrong with that, but I just think that this guy needs to move on, and he can't really move on in the 180-degree way.
Yeah.
He tried in Alex Cross.
Yeah.
He needs like that interim movie. You know?
Yeah.
Where maybe it's a comedy that's not so ridiculous, and then maybe it's a James Brooksian drama where there's some comedy and some drama, and then he can go off and do something that's kind of way out there. But right now, the audience cannot accept such a left turn from him. Anyway, Medea's Witness Protection is terrible.
Madea.
Wade, also, we have The Secret of the Wings. Now, The Secret...
Oh, this is the Tinkerbell sequel thing, or spin-off, or whatever the hell it is.
Yes, this is all about Tinkerbell. And you didn't realize that Tinkerbell had a backstory, did you?
She doesn't.
Tinkerbell,
They made one up.
He grew up in the Cabrini Green projects in Los Angeles, and then he wound up in Iran.
Cabrini Green is like in Chicago,
I
isn't
don't
it?
know where that is.
Okay.
I don't even know how I came up with Cabrini Green.
Neither do I. It's a very strange reference.
Anyway, so it's for the girls, so it's all about sisterhood and family and blah, blah, blah. Look, it moves fast. It looks nice. Does Tinkerbell as a character deserve her own movie? Of course not. Especially if it's computer stuff and not hand-drawn. I don't really like this computer stuff, especially with Tinkerbell. Anyway, so even for the kids, this is not that great, although, of course, with the Disney label, kids are going to want to see it. Not a great film, but it is your first and hopefully only trip to Pixie Hollow. The Blu-ray does have has a short on it, which is no better or worse than the movie. And there's a couple games on it. There's a couple bonus features. All in all, I think you're better off just going ahead and watching and rewatching maybe Cinderella or Snow White.
Okay.
Or Lady and the Tramp, or even one of the Pixar films.
Totally.
Than you are in watching The Secret of the Wings.
All right, I've got a couple of films here. Both of them.
Hang on, wait.
Oh, jeez. What is up with your sinuses today? You're dragging our already low threshold of professionalism all the way into the gutter.
Thank you.
Do you want to? Why don't we just do the show naked? Let's just do that. All right. As Mark has now exited to go do something with his sinuses, I'm going to mention a couple of Salma Hayek films that we have this week. We got two, actually, and she completely different characters. Salma Hayek is becoming a much, much sharper actress as she gets older, I got to tell you. The first one is Americano, in which she plays a stripper. And in the other one, Savages, the Oliver Stone film, she plays a drug kingpin. But Savages Americano has the more substantial role for her, I think. Not necessarily more in screen time, but probably more for her to do as an actress. And this is a really interesting film from Mathieu Demy, who is the son of Agnès Varda and Jacques Demy, both brilliant filmmakers. And he stars in the film. He wrote it. He directed it. And it also features Chiara Mastroianni as his girlfriend, who, of course, is the daughter of Marcello Mastroianni and, Mark, you just came and sat
George
down
Lucas.
Again. Oh, jeez. Gave you a chance to be smart. You bonked it. No, Catherine Deneuve. So, two legendary superstar children offspring from legendary European filmmakers and actors. The film is basically a very simple kind of I need to get to the roots of my roots story. Demi plays a guy who lost his mother, and he wants to kind of unravel the sort of mysterious, enigmatic story of her life and how it relates to him. And he comes to California and then winds up, going through a whole series of adventures that wind up taking him to Tijuana, where he meets up with Salma Hayek working in this nasty, disgusting little Tijuana club.
I hit the mic.
That's okay. But you know what? It's a very sensitively made film. Is it a great film? No. Does he show flashes of being as talented as his parents? I think probably. And it's a very, very it's an engaging film that I think is a nice intro for his talent. And you remember, he actually showed up not too long ago at one of our LAFCA dinners. If you remember, he accepted an award on behalf of his mom, I think.
That is true.
You remember that?
It was very memorable.
Very nice guy. Very sweet guy.
Yep.
So, anyway, that's a movie from Mathieu Demy, Americano from MPI. And then the other Salma Hayek film is Savages, the Oliver Stone film, which is a little bit like, Tequila Sunrise on crack or something. This is just a strange, weird, misguided misfire of a movie. And the idea here is that you've got Taylor Kitsch, Blake Lively, and Aaron Johnson as this kind of love triangle trio. Like, they love each other, and she'll sleep with both of them, and they're best friends, and they kind of don't care because they're all, they're like sophisticated drug dealer guys. They dropped out of college to, run a drug empire, and now the Mexicans want in, and they kidnap Blake Lively, and somehow John Travolta as a corrupt DEA agent factors into this, and Benicio del Toro is like the hitman who works for Salma Hayek, and then Salma Hayek has a daughter, and there's a weird mother-daughter relationship that she has with Blake Lively when she's her captive, and all of this makes for this very strange mash of violence and drugs and sex and family relationships. I don't get it. I thought Stone did a much better job with his screenplay for Scarface a million years ago. This is stylish, but it just feels like it feels old hat. Feels like he's pulling his punches. Mark?
Yeah, I think he's kind of lost his way a little bit.
Yeah.
It's what it is. It's almost like the anger. I think he spent so many years being angry that now that anger is sort of on autopilot. It's like this is like when it was Vietnam, or when it was whatever, it was capitalism, or when it was Wall Street. Even World Trade Center, which was not an angry film, but you felt as if it came from his heart.
Yeah. I
feel that now he's just kind of. I don't know. He's just finding these stories that I guess make him go on that anger autopilot that he has now, and just whatever.
I suppose. Well, anyway, we got some extras on these. The film Americano, both on Blu-ray. The Blu-ray of Americano has an interview with Mathieu Demy and a trailer. Not a whole lot. The Blu-ray DVD digital copy ultraviolet combo pack of Savages. You can finally dig your way to some deleted scenes and some making of stuff, which is fine. Not mind-boggling. You sort of it's the usual. So it's I guess I would recommend both of these as a rental, but Americano is the more interesting film.
That's telling him, Wade. When the campaign came out, I thought to myself, this feels like a minor Will Ferrell film. kind of in like the other guy's way.
I honestly thought if this thing is the least bit funny, it's going to take off. It's just going to be able to get all kinds of traction out of the election year. But it's turned into such a mean, nasty, paranoid, bitter, divisive election year, which I know is sort of like saying it's an election year. I guess people just weren't into wanting to laugh at it.
Well, the problem is that this film has very little political content or satire in it. I mean, really, Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis, they played two just clueless candidates who do everything they can to one-up each other and get elected. I mean, that's really all they're doing. There's not much actual political satire in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of wish there was, because then it would be great. So it's not a sharp satire. What I will say about it is that you're watching this film, and as it keeps rolling and you find yourself laughing, you're like, you know what? Somehow, this movie is funny. It's a little like The Other Guys. The Other Guys was another film that felt like it'd be like that in-between Ferrell film where you're watching it and you're thinking, you know what? This feels like a minor Ferrell film, or maybe one that wants to be funnier than it is. But in the aggregate, I'm laughing kind of hard. So even though it's not Anchorman or it's not Talladega Nights or it's one of those sorts of films that we all just absolutely just love without reservation, this is one of those films that even though it's not what we might want it to be, which is a sharp political satire, it is ultimately, for reasons of its own, for other reasons, it is funny. I mean, I just don't know what to say. I thought it was kind of funny.
It's kind of funny, but it's not like brilliantly funny.
It is not. Well, because again, this is the least political comedy you will ever see.
Which is how the development process at the studios has now drained everything of any kind of bite.
Yes, because you're afraid that because it's a political year, if one's a Republican and makes jokes about this and the other's a liberal and they make jokes about that, you'll turn off a certain segment of the audience, and we can't afford to sink $50 million into a comedy and have it alienate any part of the audience. And that's how these movies get made.
A lot of you on the Facebook page have already commented on seeing Safety Not Guaranteed, which recently came out on Blu-ray and on DVD. We've got both the Blu-ray and the DVD here in front of us. I got to say, it's a charming movie. A surprisingly charming movie. I don't know if any of our colleagues will remember this when awards time comes around, but, the whole idea of this movie... Do you know the origin of this? Do you know how Safety Not Guaranteed kind of came to happen?
Well, yeah, it was in about 15 years ago, A Message in a Bottle.
No.
There was like a little piece of paper, and it said, I want to do a movie about a supermarket clerk who thinks he solved a time travel.
No.
And he put it in a bottle and put a cork in it, threw it into the ocean, and then 15 years later, this writer, Derek Connolly, he found the message in a bottle. He's like, there's no way this guy will ever be able to track this down. I don't know who this guy is. It was a message in a bottle. Could be sent from anywhere. I'm going to write this movie. And then it winds up being Safety Not Guaranteed. That's not the story?
That's not the story.
Oh.
The story, but that's a good one. Good try. Nice, elaborate way to waste a couple of precious minutes on the podcast. No, the true story is that when Jay Leno on The Tonight Show was doing one of his regular weekly Monday night headline segments, one of them was a classified ad for saying I've traveled back in time and I need somebody to come with me this time, and you'll get paid or whatever. I mean, it was a classified ad saying I need somebody to be my time travel companion, and they took that and ran with it and made a movie out of it. And sure enough, this is the movie. And I got to tell you, they did a really charming job. The idea of... Because it's not really about time travel. It's not really about anything science fiction related. It's about eccentricity and, how people connect and the power of faith and dreams and reality and all of this kind of stuff. It's very much kind of an existential exploration of human relationships. And I thought that was a really smart thing to do with a premise that could very easily have just gone completely off the rails. And much as I normally can't stand any of the Duplass people, not as filmmakers or as actors, Mark Duplass really good here. Really good.
Him.
This is you know what? It's a good role for him. He just totally nails it. And Aubrey Plaza is just one of the real pleasures of any movie anywhere. She is just such a cool, wonderful deadpan actress. I thoroughly enjoy watching her do absolutely anything. So on television and movies, more Aubrey Plaza, please. And don't try to stretch too much, because that deadpan thing that she does, thoroughly enjoyable. Absolutely think she's just delightful as all hell.
I think she's on her way. She did Funny People Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and she's got another couple films coming up. But yeah, she could definitely a couple good choices. She's on her way.
Absolutely. And we're going to hit through a few classic movies now. We've got a ton of classic movies here. We're just going to pick a few to try and wind down the show before our Vox Box. Not yet.
Sorry.
We have a couple from the Warner Archive collection, which you can, these are all DVD-Rs. You can find out more at warnerarchive.com. The first one is Lili, which is the classic Leslie Caron film, just one of the most wonderful musicals ever made, also starring Mel Ferrer and Jean-Pierre Aumont. This is beautifully directed by Charles Walters, and this, you've heard the song "High Lily, High Low." This is the movie it comes from. 6 Academy Award nominations, a sheer joy, including a Zsa Zsa Gabor performance that is to be remembered. And then we also have Red Dust with Clark Gable and Jean Harlow. Jean Harlow was so blonde; she was blonde in black and white. You just gotta love that. This is a good film. It takes place on a rubber plantation in Indochina. Directed by Victor Fleming, who of course did Gone with the Wind and The Wizard of Oz, or substantial portions of both. Never really equaled either of those 1939 classics. This is a minor film in his repertoire. It is a kind of a minor film in Gable's repertoire. It's a little bit more of a major film for Jean Harlow. But the thing is, movies from this period, when they take place in exotic locales, you can just tell that it's a backdrop, that it's a backlot. You just know. Everything about it screams backlot. But, that being said, everybody kind of gives it their all, and it does have that sheen, that classic Hollywood sheen, so you can't fault it too much.
That is true, Wade. Fritz Lang, or Fritz Long. Wade would probably say Fritz Long. Wouldn't you, Wade?
Yes, I would. I would say Fritz Long.
Well, I say Fritz Lang because I'm a dumb American.
Okay. Potato.
Let's call the whole thing off. Anyway, Fritz Lang was one of the great directors of all time. He, of course, directed Metropolis, of course, made M, and before he came to Hollywood and had a decent Hollywood career. But before all of that, we're talking the kind of right after World War I, he made a couple movies that have been collected by the good folks at Kino. We love Kino. The good folks at Kino called Fritz Lang's The Early Works. This is Harakiri, The Wandering Shadow, and Four Around the Woman. Now, these films, I don't know how often or if ever these films have been projected in the United States, but they did a good job with the DVD. These were remastered from 35 millimeter elements that have been preserved pretty well, may I add. And Harakiri is from 1919, and it's based on Madame Butterfly. So if you're familiar with Madame Butterfly, you'll enjoy Harakiri. And The Wandering Shadow is a story about a woman who she suffers through the sex scandal, so she goes into the Bavarian Alps to find some solitude, and of course she never can. And from 1921, we have Four Around the Woman, which is, to me, the least interesting of the three. I kind of like Harakiri only because A's the oldest, and B, I like Madame Butterfly. But anyway, Fritz Lang, if you're not familiar with Fritz Lang and his work, this may not be the best place to start. I would obviously start with M and Metropolis. And he did a lot of great American films, too. The Big Heat is a great Fritz Lang film.
We talked about a couple of months ago. You know what else is a great Fritz Lang film?
The Dr. Mabuse.
Well, if you've got about 4.5, 5 hours lying around, you could watch the other thing that I'm going to talk about right now, which is the new special edition of Fritz Lang's Die Nibelungen. Die Nibelungen, if you're familiar with Wagner, is that giant, massive, epic German or Germanic tale that roughly kind of is a little bit like the Achilles story in Greco-Roman mythology. The Nibelungen is the big German epic. It's about Siegfried and the blood of the dragon, and Siegfried's he didn't have an Achilles heel, he had a Siegfried's shoulder, and there's all this stuff. But I grew up half German and hearing this kind of stuff constantly, and it's the one thing that they have that is a little bit like classic mythological lore, and they hammer it into you. So, that being said, this is not Fritz Lang's greatest work, but it's very impressive. And it's two films, Siegfried and Kriemhild's Revenge, which each are, well over 2 hours. And so you're about 4.5, 5 hours for the complete thing. This is on Blu-ray and on DVD. The Blu-ray is absolutely the way to go. The restoration here from a 35mm archival materials is just fantastic, brand new, just done. This is as beautiful as you will ever see this film, and you're unlikely really to see this ever projected because it's too long, it's too huge, it's too all involved. But some great extras here as well, including the 68-minute documentary, The Legacy of the Nibelungen, which goes all the way from the making of the film through the restoration of it. Really, really good stuff. So not for everybody, but for silent film buffs and Fritz Lang buffs, it is a must-see. And then lastly, obviously we can't let Stanley Kubrick's Fear and Desire go by, even though we'd probably like to. Mark and I both adore Kubrick. Of course, we revere Kubrick. There's a fantastic Kubrick exhibit that has just finally come here to the LA County Museum of Art, which we've got to go see. Over 1,000 artifacts from Kubrick's garage.
Now,
How cool is that? They emptied out Kubrick's garage, so you can see his old spin cycle, his barbells.
I actually work across the street from that museum.
A tube of toothpaste
Yes.
that he didn't finish up. Yeah,
Good job. I actually work across the street from that museum, and although at the time I walked over there, it hadn't opened yet, they do show at the front, before you walk into the exhibit, one of his director's chairs.
Awesome.
And even looking at a director's chair that had it has on either side of the director's chair, there are these two wooden little holes where he can put a script in or he can put papers in, and it says Stanley Kubrick on it.
I want to sit in that. Well, we're talking about Fear and Desire here.
You can't sit in that.
No?
It's in this plastic box. This see-through
just
box.
watch me.
You could get arrested.
Kubrick's Fear and Desire, I never thought this would ever happen. It's out from Kino on Blu-ray and on DVD. This is the film Kubrick basically tried to acquire and destroy. If he had had his way, no one would ever have had a chance to see this again. It would have been just burned in a fire and torched, and every last vestige of it would have been mutilated. It's a war film. It's a film he made when he really didn't know what he was doing, and he somehow threw together a skeleton crew of illegal immigrants and who held like a boom and helped him kind of set up lighting. And then he got a young actor named Paul Mazursky who really had never done anything before and was still in drama school at the time. And they went and made this kind of bizarre existential war movie that takes place in some nameless country, and it involves some very I'd say rather amateurish. It's great photography, but some amateurish dramatic devices.
I know. Wade and I saw this projected, and at the time, it was a big deal to see this projected, and we could not believe how lucky we were.
Yep.
And when it was over, we kind of looked at each other and said, you know what?
Yeah, probably should have burned it.
It really is not great.
It's really.
Look,
but you know what? He put it together very quickly thereafter. He really became Stanley Kubrick.
Well, there are some little pieces of it where you get a sense that Kubrick is starting to develop his style.
He's starting to become that guy,
He's becoming that guy at the end. Look, the movie, it was a nothing production. It was bankrolled with by friends and family. His uncle gave a bunch of money for it. And as Wade said, it was just a bunch of nobodies on the crew. Paul Mazursky, who has made almost a side career talking about the film, is the only person of any note who was in it.
Yeah. And, well, anyway, so it is more a curiosity than anything else. I mean, if you're a Kubrick completist, you're going to want to have it. And it is a beautiful restoration. I don't know if the film warrants it, but for history's sake, they did a great job. And just so it's not a total loss and people don't watch the movie and go, that sucked, because it's only an hour long. They also include a documentary that Kubrick made the same year, which is much better, which is called The Seafarers, and that also was recently restored by the Museum of Modern Art, and that's actually quite good. So it's not a total wash, but I got to say, Fear and Desire, not the great film that we all kind of hoped it would be. And with that, Mark, it's time for our Vox Box.
Can I sing the song?
Sing the song.
Box.
Digigods, Mario Mendes here from Glendale again. Thoughts today, I don't know, maybe because of Michael Clark Duncan or what have you, I guess are morbidly of death. And I was thinking to myself, which role model in the film industry or which hero would I miss the most if they were to pass? And my era is the Spielberg-Lucas era, and even though I even have a Star Wars tattoo, honestly, I think the person that I would miss the most would be John Williams, and he's getting up there, but obviously that career, going back to like the Cowboys, probably older than that, and then Towering Inferno, and then you can obviously rattle off the blockbusters, Jaws, Star Wars, Superman, Raiders, small things like Accidental Tourist. If and when he passes away, to me it would be like losing Mozart. I think probably worse, because obviously Mozart is considered classical music, and there's going to be reissuings of his music for years and years, way long outlasting us. But John Williams, it's a movie, and then things pass. New Superman movie, they're not going to use his score anymore. Who do you miss, or who will you miss, should they pass away? That, and the other thing I wanted to throw in was the limerick. I know that the contest ended, but I think our esteemed listeners could have done better. I want to take a shot at one. Let me know what you think. Hitler named himself Kaiser, which really wasn't for the wiser. He did like to bake and go on J-date. Hell, he should have dated Mark Kaiser. I don't know, Kaiser rhymes with Kaiser, but they're spelled differently, so work with me. What do you think?
I love the limerick. I think it's very clever, but then again, it's not about me. How do you feel about the limerick?
Well, I love it because it's about me.
There we go.
Well, okay, here's the pros and cons. The cons would be, he did rhyme Kaiser with Kaiser.
That's okay. I'm fine with that.
I don't know.
Okay.
And the other thing is that Hitler didn't name himself the Kaiser.
Well,
did he
okay.
name himself the Kaiser?
Not really.
So that would be a knock against. The knock, the what he has going in his favor is that he rhymed. Notice how I'm completely dissecting every line.
Of course you are.
Because it's about me. He did rhyme Kaiser with Wiser.
I like that.
That's good. But he did say J-date, where I'm also on eHarmony. But I know he couldn't work both in. I understand that. But then again, I'm a loser, so I get that. So I would have to say that had he actually submitted this, he would have had a very good chance of either win, place, or show. Can't guarantee it, but I'm just saying. So Mario, next time, a little more punctuality next time, a little more alacrity.
We are well over time, so let's answer his question. Who are we going to miss? I think John Williams, true. I mean, at this point, John Williams is like the lion of film scoring, and it would be a giant loss to think we will never, ever again have another John Williams score. But I'm going to say, I have grown up my entire life, every year, with a Woody Allen film.
God damn it, you said what I was going to say.
You were going to say.
And you are going to be killed. I'm going to go and stab you right now because I was going to say Woody Allen. You cannot say Woody Allen.
Well, I think we both feel it's Woody Allen. I mean, truly, I can't think of anyone else whose absence will be felt more profoundly, because Woody Allen has been a staple for anybody who's been going to the movies regularly since the late 60s. And
I do not accept that answer. Because it was my answer.
Okay, fine.
You got to say it first.
Okay, but it's true. I mean, what would a year be? Like a year without a Woody Allen movie would be like a year that's not even a year.
It's not just that. When you get into Woody Allen, Martin Scorsese, you get some of these directors who are part of the Hollywood. They made the films that triggered our love of films.
Yes.
The Raging Bulls, the Taxi Drivers, the Manhattans, the Annie Halls. These are the films that actuated our love of films.
Yeah.
And they are part of an old school Hollywood style that once they either retire or die, who are we left with?
I agree.
Maybe we're left with Michael Bay.
I agree.
Peter Berg.
Look, we've lost Sidney Pollack, we've lost Sidney Lumet, we've lost a lot of the giants from that generation. Woody Allen really is the one that it sort of stands as the icon for a lot of us, and I don't know what I'll do the day that he's not around anymore. It'll be all over.
I can't believe you said Woody Allen.
Mario, thank you. Great question. And for the rest of you, please send in your listener mail. Send us your Vox boxes, especially. We need more Vox boxes. We really love them. It's a great feature. Email us at gods@digigods.com.
Facebook page.
Huh?
Go to the Facebook page, too.
Go to the Facebook page. Contribute on the Facebook page as well. We need a lot of people on the Facebook page. We'll see you next week.